when the altitude is drawn to the hypotenuse of a right triangle, then maybe I should say then the altitude is the geometric mean that means it goes into the mean position. The geometric mean between the segments of the hypotenuse. To each leg of the large right triangle are geometric means which would be the whole hypotenuse and the segment of the hypotenuse closest. It's very wordy. So I would pause. Means the altitude will go in the mean position of the proportion. Each leg of the large right triangle for geometric means. That means they go in the mean position. So years ago, when I taught this course, this is how I made it simple. Okay? This is the first one in a form that's more usable. The altitude is the geometric mean, which means it goes in the geometric mean position of the proportion. Then the question is, what goes in the other position? This is going to be a segment of the hypotenuse and this is going to be other, what do you want me to say?
No, height.
The hip. Is that better?
Yeah.
I want to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. So let me draw us a picture. Okay, we've got this large right triangle. Altitude starts at a vertex, it's perpendicular to another side. This is the hypotenuse. So we're talking, this is my altitude. When this altitude touches that hypotenuse, what happens to the hypotenuse? What happens to the hypotenuse? We were looking for segments of the hypotenuse, but we talked about it. Do you see this little piece right here? And do you see that little piece right there? That altitude cut that segment and that hypotenuse into two pieces. They are not equal. That's what we mean by segment of the hypotenuse. This is a segment of hypotenuse. This is a segment of the hypotenuse. So the second one is another proportion. And this one states that a large leg. That means when I talk about a large leg, I'm talking about legs of a large right triangle. Maybe I should make that leg of large right triangle might be better. So leg of large right triangle. Now that's a geometric mean, which means it also goes up here. Of large right triangle. Well, what is it the geometric mean between? This is telling us the whole entire hypotenuse. So this would mean this would be the whole hypotenuse. Forgot my B. Hypotenuse. And then if they're talking about the segment closest, there's a blue segment and there's a green segment. Is the blue or the green close to this leg? Blue. That's what we're talking about. Segment of hypotenuse closest to leg. Now, how many legs are there on the right triangle? How many legs? 2. So if I come over here, this leg is also a geometric mean between this whole segment, but what segment of the hypotenuse is from? Blue or green? Green. That's what we're talking about. So I want to make sure you have these written down. This is the whole gist of what we're going to be doing. That's the most important thing you can write down for setting up a homework. So when you go to do these problems, I want you to first identify every mean.
Does it say like what to do?
Those two proportions are the way you're going to set up every problem on the homework.
No, I'm saying like you making us identify every mean and all that stuff that you're trying to understand. Is that like cardinal or is that actually too?
No, that's the way that you have to make it as simple as possible. Okay, you're going to identify every mean, then you will set up proportions. With the means in place. And that could be 1, 2, 3 of them, depending on how much they give you. 1 to 3 proportions. And then you fill in the rest of the proportions. Fill in remaining spots in the proportions. And then solve. So when I say fill in the remaining spots, that would be the extremes. That would be the whole hypotenuse, the segment of the hypotenuse, or the 2 segments of the hypotenuse. After years of teaching counseling, this is the way. It's very wordy, but when you go to do it, it's not very long. Everybody have it? Okay, so here we go. All right, if we look at this problem, the first thing I want you to identify, who are the means? What's the easiest one to identify? Who are the means? Altitude, large leg, large leg. Which one's the altitude? Pardon? AB, which is x, correct? What's one large leg?
C.
Z. What's the other large leg?
Y.
Y. So that's identifying the means. So now you're going to come over and you are going to set up, since I have 3 means, I'm going to have 3 proportions. The means go in the mean position. All right? Don't assume that they're always going to be variables. The means go in the mean position. So, my hypotenuse is separated into 2 pieces. There's one piece, and here is the other piece. Remember? Highlighter might help you. Before I go any further, can someone tell me how long the whole hypotenuse is? 13. So now the altitude is the geometric mean between the segments or pieces of the hypotenuse. So what goes here? 8 and 5. The legs, on the other hand, are the whole hypotenuse. What's the whole hypotenuse?
13.
They both require the whole hypotenuse. Now, this is where they differ. If I look at Z, which segment of the hypotenuse is closest, blue or green? Blue, so that means 8. On Y, which segment's closer, blue or green? Green, so that's going to be 5. So all you have to do now is solve 3 proportions. This is going to be x squared is equal to 40. Now we talked about this before. How do we undo a square?
Square root it.
So this is going to be x equals plus or minus square root of 40. Which one do we choose? Because it's a length. Positive. So this is going to be the square root, and now we need to simplify this. Give me 2 numbers that multiply to give you 40.
35.
8 times 5. Give me 2 numbers that multiply to give you 8.
4, 2.
4 times 2 times 5. Give me 2 numbers that multiply to give me 4. So I have 2 times 2 for the 4, the 2 and the 5. What does a square root mean? What number was multiplied by itself? 2. And now, do I have 2 2s anymore or 2 5s anymore? Those stay under as 10. It simplifies to square root of 10. The EOC expects you to be able to do that.
I don't understand where you got the 2, 2, 2.
And how do you simplify 40?
8, 5.
8 times 5, but there is no, 8 is not a perfect square, 5 is not a perfect square.
So why didn't you simplify?
Yes,
Why did you simplify 5? Why didn't you simplify?
because nothing multiplies to give me 5, but 5 and 1.
Okay.
So then I simplify 8, 2 doesn't go any further, but 4 does. What was multiplied by itself? 2 comes down. Because you have to be able to simplify on the using. So now we're going to get z times z is z squared equals 13 times 8. Now look, I am not going to multiply those because I need to simplify, and if you multiply them, you're going to turn around and then find the factors. This is going to be plus or minus what 13 doesn't factor, what does 8 factor into? 4 times 2. Now, you can ask yourself, what's the square root of 4? 2. So that's one way you could do that. 13 times 2 is 26, or you could break down the 4 and say 2 times 2 times 2, what is multiplied by itself? 2. Z is going to be a positive 2 square root of 26.
I never even seen you do that before.
If we multiply y times y, we get y squared, then we got 13 times 5. Does anything break down to give you, does this break down into factors?
No.
Or 5?
No.
So what that means is, that means that you can't simplify. So 5 times 13 is 65. Which one do we choose?
Positive.
Square root the positive one.
So you don't square root it?
No, I want to do this form. Because you're going to, half the EOC is not uncalculated.
Oh, yeah?
And they're going to expect you to remember this from algebra. Okay, let's do another one. All right, again, what do we do first? Find the means. We need the altitude, we need a large leg, and we need the other large leg. I suggest that you write altitude, large leg, by the time you finish the homework, this is going to remember. What's the altitude? 4. What's one large leg? X, and the other large leg? Y. So now you start, these are the geometric means. You put these in the mean position of different proportions. Okay, so now this goes back to that little ratio that I set up at the beginning. 4 is the altitude. I kind of like to have this in colors. All right, can someone tell me what the whole hypotenuse is? 10. All right, so the altitude is the geometric mean between what? The pieces of the hypotenuse, which is 2 and 8. Oh wow, that's a bad problem.
Why?
Because there's no variable. So I should have given you a variable.
And now you have a full answer. What if you just use the same answer?
I'm gonna let that be 0. Okay, so now we've got a variable. So this is Z. All right, then what are we gonna do?
Wait.
Yes. Is what? All right, so now this is no longer 10, but this is what? Z plus 8. All right, so now when I have this, we're on a large leg. What's the whole hypotenuse? Z plus 8. What's the segment of the hypotenuse next to X? Z. Okay, what's the whole hypotenuse? Z plus 8. What segment's next to it? Okay, which proportion is only solvable at this moment in time? The first one. We have 8Z equals 16. What is Z? Z equals 2. So now if I come over here, I need Z. What do I put in its place? 2. What do I put in this Z's place? 2. What do I put in this Z's place? 2. So I'm going to have 10 over X is equal to X over 2. What do we do now? So we have X squared is equal to 10 times 2. We are going to square root both. What are the factors of 10? 5 times 2, and that 2 is right there. What was multiplied by itself? So you're going to get 2 square root of 5.
Why don't you just make it 20?
Because then I have to say what are the factors of 20, and I have to start breaking it down. So I'm making more work for myself for doing that.
I don't even know what that is.
Square root of 20? No, but 20 isn't a perfect square. So we're going to have 10y is equal to y over 8. Y squared equals what? 10 times 8. What are the factors of, on the square root, what are the factors of 10? 5 times 2, what are the factors of 8? 2 times 4, what are the factors of 4? 2 times 2. So now when we go to simplify what was multiplied by itself, 2. What else was multiplied by itself? 2. So that's going to be 2 times 2 square root of 5, or 4 square root of 5. I'm simplifying my radicals.
Why wouldn't you just put, like, it seems right there you can put 4 times 5. Use that as your multiple to get 20.
Here, you could have done that, and then if you know the square root of 4, it's 2. Alright, let's look at this one here. What are, yeah. What are you talking about? Do you understand my proportions?
What?
Do you understand? When you get to here, that y is equal plus or minus square root of 80.
I don't know.
Alright, what are my means? What's one mean, Caitlin?
X.
X, it's the altitude. What's another mean, Caitlin?
Yes.
Pardon? Okay, we're looking at the very large triangle. I need a leg. The legs form the right angle. W. What's my other large leg, McKenna? 9 is a leg of the medium triangle. I need the big triangle. Large leg with the big. We got W. There's another one. 6. So now at this point you're going to say X, X. You're going to do W, W, and you're going to do 6, 6. All right. On the altitude, Eric, what are the other pieces? The altitude is the geometric mean between what?
No, I thought you.
The pieces. Pieces of the hypotenuse.
Why no? Y and nine.
Y and 9, all right? W is a leg. So it's going to be the whole hypotenuse, which is
16.
16. Which part of the hypotenuse is closest to W?
9.
9. The 6 is whole hypotenuse. What's the whole hypotenuse?
16.
16. And what's closest to it?
6. For Y.
Y. So here we're going to say, I'm not going to solve that one first because there's two variables. 16y equals 36. All right, I'm going to finish this one in the event you're interested to look at this tonight. Have a good day. So y is equal to 36 over 16. 4 goes into 36, 9 into 16, 4. So this is going to be w squared is equal to 16 times 9. I square root both sides and I get 2 answers. The square root of 16 happens to be 4. The square root of 9 is 3, so this is going to be a positive 12. Y is 9/4 over x is equal to x over 9. So this x squared is going to equal 81 over 4. When I square root both sides, I'll get plus or minus square root of 81 over 4. The square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 4 is 2.